We're diving deep today into a single, specialized observation that, on the surface, sounds incredibly niche.
Mm,
But underneath, it really reveals these fundamental truths about value, quality control, and, the grueling pursuit of perfection.
right.
And this deep dive began, ironically, in the most mundane of settings, a grocery store run,
Yeah.
where an observation led us to a single, beautiful, and very expensive ornamental fish.
It was a classic case of seeing something beautiful and then realizing its beauty was immediately undercut by a hidden flaw.
Exactly.
We're discussing a detailed evaluation of a premium specimen, specifically a Koi Plakat Betta. The immediate question for the observer was, this fish is stunning, why is it here, and why is it priced the way it is?
That's right. Our source was analyzing a fish with a pretty significant price tag,
Yeah.
around MYR 200. Now, for our global listeners, that's roughly 45 US dollars.
Which is a steep price for a single ornamental fish.
Oh yeah, certainly not your average pet store purchase. But here's the mission. That price reflects extreme premium quality. Yet this fish still failed to meet the gold standard required for a champion show grade winner.
So we're basically dissecting the anatomy of near perfection. We're using this Koi Plakat Betta, focusing on color, form, and these, minute fin measurements as a case study for what you could call the tyranny of the 1%.
That tiny margin of error that separates high value from, well, astronomical value.
Exactly. And before we go further, let's just clarify. A Plakat Betta is the short-finned variety.
And that's a crucial distinction, right?
Oh, absolutely, because achieving geometric perfection on shorter, stiffer fins is often much, much harder and thus more highly prized in competitions than with their flowing, long-finned relatives.
Okay, let's begin with that first impression. What made this fish instantly capture attention and, justify that initial high price tag? What were the aesthetic strengths? Our source noted that this fish seemed, at first glance, to possess all the necessary criteria for entry into a major beta competition. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, it had that unmistakable pop. The most immediate draw was the coloration. It wasn't just red.
Right.
The source specifically highlighted its vibrant, blood red hue, and this intensity was contrasted by these well-defined white and light patches scattered beautifully across the body and fins.
And that's the koi designation, right? That patterning.
That's the koi. It means the fish exhibits the color patterning reminiscent of Japanese koi carp, which is incredibly difficult to reproduce cleanly in betas.
So it's not just about having the colors, it's the clarity and distribution. It has to look like a canvas painted by an artist, not just a splash of pigment.
Precisely. The patterning needs to look purposeful and clean, but beyond color, the fish exhibited fantastic structure. It had a sturdy, thick body.
Which is a key physical indicator of health, I assume.
Of health and high genetic quality in a betta, yes. And the fins themselves looked strong, full, healthy, and held open with a really remarkable spread.
So that structural integrity and vibrant patterning, that immediately sets it apart from anything mass-produced.
Absolutely.
We are talking about the clear definition of premium quality. It is a beautiful, expensive fish. But here's the core conflict. If it looks this good and has this strong body, why isn't it a champion? Where does that line get drawn?
This is where we leave the realm of general aesthetic appreciation and enter the arena of mathematical perfection.
Mathematical perfection.
What's fascinating here is that the judging criteria shift dramatically from does it look good to does it adhere to absolute specific geometry.
Geometry in fish judging, that still sounds a little absurd to me.
It is, but it's a standard. For this specific variety, the defining characteristic, the hallmark of show-grade perfection, is the caudal fin spread the tail.
Okay.
The competition standard demands a perfect 180 degrees.
180 degrees. So that's a truly flat semicircle when the fish flares.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier this is a plakat, a short-finned variety. Does that make the 180-degree spread harder to achieve than in the longer fin types?
Absolutely. Think about the mechanics. Long, flowing fins might hide minor imperfections because the fin material is softer and it kind of drapes.
Right. It's more forgiving.
Exactly. Plakat fins are short and stiff. To achieve that 180-degree half-moon shape, which is why the variety gets that nickname, the skeletal structure and fin rays have to be genetically fixed to hold that exact tension.
Wow.
It has to form a flawless, mathematically precise D shape when flared. If it falls short by even a hair, the imperfection is immediately obvious because the fins don't bend or hide the flaw.
So judges aren't just looking for a nice tail. They are like using an imaginary protractor.
That's a great way to put it.
This is the definition of a specialized field valuing extreme precision. I mean, we see this everywhere, right?
Yeah.
In competitive diving, if the entry angle is off by 2 degrees, you lose the gold medal. The jump looks stunning to the viewer, but mathematically it's a failure.
Exactly. Or look at aerospace engineering. If a part needs to hold a tolerance of 5 microns and it holds 3, that's a passing part. But if it misses by 1 micron in the wrong direction, that entire batch is scrapped. The fish world operates under the same tyranny of the micron, or, in this case, the degree. It has to be visually perfect and mathematically compliant.
It's interesting to note, though, that our premium subject wasn't flawed across the board. The source mentioned that the pair of pectoral fins, for example, looked decent.
Yeah, a sign of general quality.
But the defining feature, that caudal fin, is where the fish met the immovable object of the show grade checklist.
And that contextual balance is key. It was a spectacular fish, but the flaw existed in the one specific area that acts as the make-or-break criterion for the entire lineage.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because we move from the overall spectacular impression to the precise critical deficiencies found upon closer scrutiny. These flaws are the difference between MYR 200 and potentially MYR 2000 or more.
Let's detail the exact failures that cost this fish its championship potential.
First, the major flaw. The caudal fin spread and form. While it was almost perfect, the evaluation estimated the spread was closer to 170 degrees.
Right.
That is a 10-degree shortfall from the championship 180.
10 degrees. To an untrained eye, they would just see a spectacular full tail. But to a judge, those 10 degrees represent structural weakness and a lack of the specific genetic fixation they are demanding.
But it gets worse. Remember that perfect D-shape requirement?
Yeah.
The source noted 2 structural overlaps that broke the seamless curve. There was a slight overlap where the caudal fin meets the dorsal fin at the top, and another where it meets the anal fin at the bottom.
So the fins weren't separating and meeting the ideal tangent lines.
Exactly.
That overlap is a critical fault. The visual flow is completely ruined for a judge. And the third issue is with the anal fin itself. It was described as appearing somewhat jagged and lacking the smooth symmetry required.
So we have 3 distinct minor structural issues that are all likely stemming from the same genetic line.
That's the key.
The 10-degree spread, the slight overlaps, and the jagged symmetry. It sounds like someone is grading a blueprint, not a living creature.
That's the reality of the highest levels of competitive breeding. Now let's pause and reflect. If the fish possesses such strong genetics, vibrant color, robust body, and a tail that's 95% perfect, how does it end up available for MYR 200 in a general commercial setting?
Yeah, that raises a huge economic question. This fish is clearly the product of immense breeding effort, so why is it being sold off relatively cheaply, given its obvious quality?
Well, this speaks directly to the economics of a top-tier breeding operation. The fish was, according to the source material, almost certainly sourced from a local breeder as part of a premium rejected batch.
A premium rejected batch? That sounds dramatic.
It is intentional culling. This individual fish, because of the 10-degree deficiency and the structural overlaps, was intentionally removed from the breeder's top show line. It's too good to just throw away or sell for cheap, so it commands a premium, the MYR 200 price, but it absolutely cannot be used to propagate the championship lineage. It's a genetic near miss.
But a miss nonetheless.
But a miss nonetheless.
So the breeder is essentially saying, we have invested generations into this line, and this fish represents maybe the 9th generation of trying to fix the 180-degree flaw, but since we didn't achieve perfection, we recoup costs by selling it as a high-end pet.
That's it, exactly. And that just underscores the monumental effort involved. You have to ask yourself, why is it so hard to close that 10-degree gap?
Right.
It's because achieving consistent fixed genetic traits, like a perfect 180-degree tail structure, requires rigorous selection and elimination over multiple generations. A breeder might breed 100 fish, find 3 that are flawless.
3 out of 100.
Maybe. Then maybe 20 that are premium rejected, like this one, and the rest are simply low-grade culls.
So the MYR 200 price starts to make a lot more sense now. It's not the price of a champion, but it's a reflection of the cost of the failed attempt to make one.
You are paying for the genetic history and the breeder's sustained labor, even if the result fell short.
It's the highest quality available outside of the championship ring.
The flaw is technical, it's minute, and it's invisible to almost everyone but the expert judge. Yet it carries these massive implications for the fish's functional value within the hobbyist economy.
And the breeder is forced to keep trying.
Yes. The breeder is forced to keep breeding generation after generation, discarding near-perfect stock until that desired trait is consistently fixed.
It's incredible to think about that sustained commitment just to eliminate one small overlap in a fin. I mean, this has to be exhausting, and yet the highest standards always demand this level of dedication.
The synthesis here, and the key takeaway for you, the listener, is how these minute technical imperfections dictate value and function across so many specialized fields.
Yeah.
That 10-degree shortfall literally transformed this fish's destiny. It shifted it from being a potential multi-thousand-dollar champion prospect to a high-end but ultimately rejected batch.
It really illustrates the immense effort required to eliminate that final, most stubborn fraction of a flaw. And it forces us to ask, is this standard arbitrary, or is it the only way to measure absolute genetic success?
Well, the answer is that once a market chooses its standard, whether it's 180 degrees or a 5-micron tolerance, anything that falls short, or regardless of how close it is, fundamentally changes its value proposition.
A miss is as good as a mile.
At this level, yes. Consider the immense cost, both in time and in capital, required in any field, whether it's competitive athletics, specialized agriculture, or this high-end fish breeding, just to eliminate that last 10-degree deficiency.
That is the true cost of excellence. So the final thought I'd leave you with is this. Consider the other specialized markets you encounter every day that operate under the same principle of microscopic perfection. What seemingly minor flaw completely changes the classification and the value of an item. Think about that generational effort, the sheer will, needed just to close a 10-degree gap on a tiny fish. That is the depth of the deep dive.